Hi, I'm Nick Brown, and this is the White Rabbit Galleries podcast. Across the table from me is the imaginative Tim O'Daniel, who has a show here at White Rabbit Galleries from March 1st to March 30th. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Nick.
So as an artist, can you talk about what influences you?
Well, I've always liked drawing, even as a kid. In school, I took drafting and mechanical drawing, and even in elementary school, I could draw perfect letters. The alphabet looked almost like it was done professionally. So I've always been into mechanical drawing, and then as an adult, because I struggle with drawing any kind of animal or live creatures, I gravitated towards abstract art, basically. And just recently, in the last 5 years, took up that hobby a little bit more at a bigger pace because I'm nearing retirement, and I was hoping I could, earn a few dollars in retirement, and hopefully my art would attract some folks. But my influence would be bold geometric colors and shapes, and moving from there, just building on that, and then cutting out shapes, and then using oil-based markers as a tool. And then I would just recently started using like embellishments, little gems to glue onto the piece, just to give it some depth and some color, because I love bright colors.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you said you took mechanical drawing, because looking at your work, I can kind of see that there's a lot of structure to it and a lot of control. And I wonder if part of the reason why you like vivid and bold colors is that's sort of a contrast to that. You've got the structure, the control, all of that's very planned out. And then the gems, the bedazzling, if you will, that goes on top of it is a good contrast to all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of like took on a life of its own. Some of my earlier stuff is pretty primitive, and I've got a whole house full of old stuff. And then some of my newer stuff, my family and friends have encouraged me to try to branch out and just get my stuff shown and get it out there. And that's how I accidentally stumbled across you guys about 2 years ago. A friend of mine had suggested to visit you guys, White Rabbit Galleries, because she had some stuff here on consignment. So I waltzed in one day, and you and Molly were here, and it's been a great ride ever since. And I'm very honored to be have my stuff shown for the month of March. I just can't believe it, and I'm very honored that you guys thought enough of my art to be able to show it like this. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I think your process is really interesting because you are combining traditional mediums using the markers and the oil paints, but then you're also using technology to replicate that and alter it a little bit and then collage it together.
Yeah.
How did you come across that process? Is that just iterating over the years?
Pretty much. And all of the altering of my art is done with my cell phone. So I will take a photograph of some shapes that I've cut out, arranged on a whiteboard or a glossy background, and then I'll take a photograph of it. And then what I'll do is I'll use the editing on the cell phone, like the tint or the hue, to make it darker, brighter, changing the color scheme. And then I would make duplicates of that from a photograph, and then cut out more shapes from that, arranged on another board. And then once I get it all arranged, then I'll mat it and then frame it. So there's not a whole lot of digital work. It's just done with my cell phone. And some of my works, there's no technology at all in it. I will draw strictly with the oil-based markers, and then play with it a little bit, and then use the gems or the little embellishments to glue on around it. And then sometimes I will say it's finished and won't go back to it. And sometimes I'll think that it's finished, but then I'll put it aside and then come back to it maybe a week later and work on something else.
Have you ever whenever I've seen your work, it's always mounted and framed. Have you ever had a piece mounted, framed, you walk away from it for a little bit, and then you decide, oh man, I got to add something else to this
Yes,
and open it right back up?
absolutely. Which is why the matting and the framing, if you look on the back of it, I want to have easy access in case I want to change something. But usually lately, once I am done with it and it's framed, it's good to go. Through trial and error, I've decided that my own critique shouldn't be what I'm using. If it looks good enough, then I let others decide whether or not they like it. So I've been really hard on myself with, what I see as a final product, and I've got to get over that because, like I said, I'm just an amateur. I've never done it for any kind of anything except my leisure. And then lately, because my retirement's coming up in the next probably year and a half, my family and friends are encouraging me to get my stuff out there just to see if it can pan out. So,
yeah. If nothing else, it gives you something really fun to do in retirement. I wish I could do nothing more than quit my job and paint all the time. I think that would be a blast.
Yeah.
Recently, you made what you said is your favorite piece, and in that piece, you were doing something a little bit different than a lot of the sort of mechanical designs, if you will. You started incorporating trees.
And that all happened by accident because my sister, she built a house in Norton. They live in Arizona, and they built a summer house in Norton. And it's it's a very modern house, but it's a farmhouse type. It's a black and white decor, and she wanted a black and white tree. And I was like, you've seen my trees and animals, right? And we all got a good laugh at it. And she said, seriously, Tim, try it. So I started just doodling at home and came up with some prototypes. And the first couple of trees looked pretty silly. I mean, even I had to laugh because even my trees come out abstract. And but I've gotten better, and that black and white tree started my journey a little bit away from total abstract. And some of my trees that I'm going to display here, I have about 15 pieces that are of trees that look pretty good. They're surprising me, actually, and everybody else they love the trees, because they can identify with them more than these geometric colors where people will want to know what it is, and there's really not a story behind it. It just looks good to me. So,
yeah. Do you think you'll pursue nature as more of a theme going forward?
probably not. Probably not.
Okay. Well, Tim, those are all my questions. Thanks for coming in to the studio and talking with me today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. And like I said, I appreciate you guys having enough faith in me to be able to have a display all month. And I'm just grateful to be invited to do this.
So this is the Abstract Works of Tim O'Daniel, a solo exhibition. It'll be on display Friday, March 1st to Saturday, March 30th at White Ribbon Galleries in beautiful downtown Barberton. Come on down. Don't miss the show.